Yes, yes, yes. What's going on, people? This is Daryl from the Boxing Lowdown, and I'm delighted to be joined by my dad, Mr. Laurie, for AFTV. Now, this is the 10th episode, and we are live. YouTube, Twitter, we're live. What's going on?
I'm
This is
good.
the first, this is the first time we're going live with the podcast, man. I tried it just to give you some context. I tried going live on YouTube and Twitter like over the last week, and it's been pretty good. I mean, good interaction. Had some new people join in, like adding some comments and stuff. So I just thought, let's just give it a try, man. We'll go on live on this particular podcast, and if no one joins, that's fine. We'll just carry on talking as we do. If people do and they want to add comments in, and they can do that too. So we'll just carry on as we do. If people want to join in, ask any questions or leave any comments or whatever, we can attend and answer to them. But as of now, we're just going to carry on and just do what we do in our particular podcast. So you ready, Mr. Laurie? You ready for this yet?
I'm ready, man. I'm ready. Always ready.
Well, let's get straight into it, man. Obviously, last weekend, we had the big fight between Anthony Joshua and Kubrat Pulev. A very important fight, which had implications on the heavyweight division. If Anthony Joshua was to win that fight, then, it sets up the big showdown that we've all been waiting for. And that's obviously against Tyson Fury next year. Now, Anthony Joshua, I think there was pressure on him, not only just to win. There was pressure on him to actually put in a good performance, get the KO. And, he did that in the 9th round. He dropped Pulev, 4 times in the fight? Dropped him 4 times, got the stoppage in the 9th. What was your overall thoughts on, Anthony Joshua's performance and, the narrative that he's what some people are saying that he's scared of Tyson Fury for not calling him out?
No, listen, first and foremost, I thought it was a pretty good performance, actually. Out of 10, I'd probably give it a 7.5. I thought he looked good. Listen, man, it was... And let me just first start by saying that fight should have been over in the 3rd round. Whenever you get a fighter that's been dropped or severely hurt and then they turn their back, the referee, who was absolutely awful, by the way, don't even get me started on him.
He did that twice, didn't he? He turned his back twice.
Yeah. That referee, seriously, is one of the worst referees I've seen in a top flight fight in years. But to go back to Anthony's performance, I thought he looked good, man. I thought he controlled the fight. I thought his jab was good. He boxed well. He won every round. He hurt Pulev. You could argue that after he hurt him in the 3rd round and dropped him, that he could have put him away. That's a fair enough criticism, I suppose. But then, if you recall what happened to him in the Ruiz fight, I think that was the 3rd round as well, where he hurt Ruiz badly and then rushed in and then got clipped, and then you saw what happened. But let's be clear, man. He was never in trouble in this fight, despite some of the antics that Pulev was going on with. He controlled the fight with a jab. He pretty much won every round. He never got hurt or even come close to getting hurt. Even when he was caught a few times, he rode the shots well. It was a pretty comprehensive and dominating performance. And he got him out of there, man, with a highlight reel finish. So really and truly, I thought it was a very good performance and not much more could be asked.
I still saw a bit of criticism. I still saw, when I was online, like just going through some of the tweets and some of the interactions online about the fight, talking throughout. There were some people that believed that, the ghosts of Andy Ruiz were still there. When he had Kubrat Pulev down in the 3rd and he, had him down twice, it looked like that it was going to be over. Some people are like, yeah, man, go in for the finish. That's it. But, it didn't end in that round. And then Pulev was able to survive up until the 9th, So some people are saying that, the kind of ghosts from that fight are still there, the demons, obviously because when he dropped Andy Ruiz in the 3rd round in the first fight, kind of rushed in. And then, Ruiz clipped him. And then we know what happened from there. So can you kind of like see that angle that, the demons were there? But for me personally, to answer my own question, he did have a year out. He's been out of the ring for a while. There's not necessarily meant that he would have to. He's not necessarily going to get over those demons straight away. And do you think that was shown in the fight itself? Can you agree with that?
When you say I wouldn't put it as strongly as that. I think what we're seeing with Anthony Joshua is what we're seeing with a lot of fighters when they get into their 30s. I think that what we're seeing is AJ evolving into a different type of fighter now. When you're younger and you've just come in the game and you've not been beaten, say, for example, you tend to take more risks naturally. You tend to be a bit more, intent on going in and doing a number on your guy. As you get older, especially if you suffered a loss like what AJ suffered, you can become slightly risk averse. And that is not such a bad thing, because it means you're using your brain a bit more. You're a bit more cerebral. So if you're fighting a guy like Pulev, who, let's face it, Pulev, he's not a one-punch hitter, but he's got quite a strong punch, and he can be quite dangerous. So I think it would be just reckless to just run in there and try and get him out of there when he's not fully out, and risk getting caught. Because with a lot of these guys, when their backs to the wall, that is when they become more dangerous. So you can risk getting clipped on the way in, and then all of a sudden the trajectory of the fight has changed completely. So it's far more reasonable to stay behind the jab and wait for your moment. I mean, that's something that Klitschko, who I know Anthony looks up to, he did that a lot in his career. And of course, Lennox Lewis did that a lot in his career. Now, when we go back now, history will judge those guys as great fighters, which is what Anthony's aspiring to be. So I think it's just a fighter that's naturally evolving. You very rarely see fighters, as they become older, take more risks. They tend to take less risks. So I'm not really going to criticize him too much for that. I mean, I've heard people say he was a bit risk averse. He was a bit gun shy, demons, all that talk. I'm not so sure, man. I mean, he was never in any trouble in that fight, was he?
Yeah, we got a comment here from Ian Hamilton. Big up Ian. He tunes into the show. He was also on Fan Talk last weekend. He's put, "Hi guys and Daryl. As I said before, I thought AJ was composed and has got better at his jab. Yes, he looked a bit eager, but he perhaps wanted to rounds to shake off the rust and get a great KO. That's pretty much what he did, wasn't it?"
Yeah, I mean, listen, man, he controlled the fight from start to finish. There was never any danger that I could detect anyway. He seemed to have it absolutely under control. He established his jab early. Gave up the center of the ring a few times, but even then, he was not coming under any real pressure from Pulev. He landed all the heavy shots in the fight. He knocked him down multiple times, and he got the high real KO. I mean, as a heavyweight, you can't ask for much more than that. He came out of that fight, I'm sure he would have had harder spars, if we're being honest. He would have had harder sparring in the lead up to the fight than the fight proved on the night. He didn't have a scratch on him when I was looking. So his job done, man, and on to the next one.
Yeah, as I said, I was impressed. I was impressed with the performance, man. I got somebody messaged me on my Insta the day after, and they were like, "No, I wasn't impressed, man." And I was like, "What? Why?" Like, the guy's been out of the ring for a year. He's gone in. He's going in there against the top 15 heavyweight for sure, maybe top 10 in some people's eyes, and he's dropped him 4 times, and he got a knockout in the 9th, and he's been out for a year. What more do you want the guy to do? Like, I mean, come on, man.
And you have to also remember as well, he's only one of 2 people to have beaten Pulev. You know what I mean? The other one was Klitschko. So, You know what I mean? You're in rarefied company there. Pulev doesn't lose too often. So that tells you a little bit about Pulev. Everyone's writing off Pulev now, but in the weeks leading up to the fight, I heard a lot of people say, I wasn't one of them, by the way, that said that Pulev had a real chance. Bob Arum was crowing about, he's going to knock AJ out. And it was 1 or 2 other people whose opinions I do respect were saying that this could be a difficult night. I think even me and you said last week that AJ might have to go through some uncomfortable moments. Well, let's be honest, I can't remember any uncomfortable moments that he went through. Yes, he got hit the odd time.
He did land a couple rights, didn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, when he did get hit, he rode those shots. He wasn't buckled. He wasn't worried. He wasn't hurt. He wasn't cut or bruised. To me, it was a pretty straightforward, if not easy, night's work for him. So, and then he comes out with another win, another KO, keeps his title. And then, everyone's talking about him versus Tyson Fury. I remember, listen, after Fury beat Wilder and then he got in there with Otto Wallin, look what happened there. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you one thing, man. I would have liked to see, I don't know what you think about it, but after the fight, obviously there was the interview process that Sky tend to do. AJ had his interview with them. To me, it looked like he couldn't wait to get out of there. It looked like he just wanted to get back to his change room. And I would have liked to have seen, we all know what the reporter was trying to do. He was trying to get him to just say, yeah, I want that Fury fight next. And you can understand why. Do you know what I mean? Like, everybody's talking about it. It's the biggest fight in British boxing history. It's like the undisputed heavyweight title. You know, we know that you want the fight. We know Fury wants to fight. What's the issue with you just coming out and saying, yeah, man, I want the fight? This is the thing with AJ sometimes for me, yeah. I mean, I like him, you know, I respect him. He's one of my favorite fighters out there. But why didn't you just call the guy out? You know, why didn't you just say, yeah, man, Tyson Fury, let's get it on? I know it's all of this, less talk, all action. Yeah, cool. But us as boxing fans want to see you say, yo, man, I want Tyson Fury next. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what? I must admit, you are right on that because, like you, I would have liked to have seen him, you know, talk it up a bit because I like
talk it up, man.
That's the fight everybody wants to see. But then I guess we also have to factor into the equation that AJ's his own man. He's very keen to be his own man. And he's also not a natural trash talker. That's one thing I've noticed about AJ. He's been in trash talking in the past, notably with Dillian and with Jarrell Miller. But if you noticed, when he's had those encounters and the head-to-heads and stuff like that, he's not totally comfortable in that environment. You know what I mean? So I think it does come easy to him, as certainly as it would do someone like Tyson Fury if he noticed he was straight on Insta with all the videos. Yeah, he's scared, this and that.
He took advantage of it. He took advantage of that, man, because AJ was political. He's like, well, you know, I want all the belts. If this guy's got the belt, then just say his name, man. Just say the guy's name.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen him just say, because, you know, we was all like, looking at the TV and say, look, come on, man, it's obvious where the interview is going. So just, you know what I mean?
Tyson Fury obviously capitalized on that.
Fun and games by not playing into it and not expecting us to do, not doing what everyone expected him to do. Maybe he was having his own little bit of fun that way. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen him talk it up. But let's face it, man, the fight looks like it's going to happen at some stage, hopefully in 2021. I think the only obstacle that might stop it happening then is depending on what happens with the coronavirus and vaccines and everything else, whether we get fans back in the stadiums, because the promoters might want to wait until we got fans back in the stadiums. That being said, there's a lot of talk that the fight might not take place on these shores anyway. So
yeah, well, that was going to be my next point. There's a couple of obstacles, actually. We've seen, you know, obviously you just highlighted there about the fans in the stadium, but then there's also the WBO, who released a statement the day after saying that AJ needs to fight his mandatory next. So obviously if AJ is required to do that, well, the only way how he could get around that is if Usyk takes some step-aside money and allows AJ to fight Fury for all the belts. Otherwise, we're in danger of this fight not being for the undisputed heavyweight title, which kind of takes a bit of the gloss off for me. It takes a little bit off because I'm just a boxing purist. I just love the whole undisputed. You know, that's just me. Some people might just want to see the fight and say, yeah, he's number one. But for me, I think being the number one and undisputed, there's just a nice ring to it. You know, like we haven't had an undisputed heavyweight champion since Lennox Lewis. Also, the WBO is a factor. We've got Team Wilder that potentially could be a factor, who are still in the process of taking this case legally with getting the third fight with Tyson Fury. So there's that obstacle to cover. If the fight is to take place, then they're looking at May 2021, according to Eddie Hearn's interview. And if that's the case, we're not going to be able to fill a stadium by then. So that would mean that the first fight is 100% going to be taking place abroad, over in Saudi Arabia, most like.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's two things that could well scupper this fight in the short term anyway. The first one is, like you said, the Usyk situation. Usyk has apparently gone on record as saying that he will not take step-aside money and he's going to insist on his shot, which is fair enough given his age and all the rest of it. But then money talks. It depends on how much step-aside money is offered. Because if you think about it from Usyk's point of view, if he's that confident in beating the winner, then it might make sense for you to, A, take the step-aside money and watch Joshua and Fury presumably bash each other up, and then you can come in and take the winner, who might be a lesser man then than what he would be now. So there's that way of looking at it. And as you said as well with the Wilder thing, I think Wilder's very keen to get the rematch on with Fury. Don't forget he's got a rematch clause. And they say they're going to pursue that in the courts. So that could well play out as well. So, and then of course, on top of that is the elephant in the room with the COVID thing. We just don't know how things are going to turn out next year with regards to getting crowds back in arenas. So there's still a lot going on, man. I'd like to think that the fight will happen next year, but you know, it's boxing and you never know what's around the corner. So let's hope we do get that fight at some point next year. Be a great fight. And yeah, man, I can't wait.
For sure. Listen, Dad, we've got over 150 odd people in the chat, man. So if you guys are in, make sure you smash that like button. Feel free to leave any comments. We'll happily respond to any of them while we're talking. But yeah, as just a recap for any of those that have just jumped in, we're speaking about, you know, AJ Pulev that took place last weekend. We're going to look ahead to Canelo-Smith. We're going to talk about the fact that Dillian Whyte could potentially now be taking on the likes of Deontay Wilder, Andy Ruiz, or who's the other opponent? Maybe Luis Ortiz as well. So any of you guys that are in the chat, smash that like button. Don't forget to leave your comments and we'll happily answer to them. But Dad, going back to your point with regards to, you know, Joshua and Pulev and Fury, but the fight may be happening next year or not. I definitely don't think that AJ is afraid of Fury. I was just a bit disappointed that he didn't, you know, come out and just say, yo, I want Tyson Fury next. You guys know it. Let's get it on. Because that would have got a little buzz. And I just think Tyson Fury was smart there because he capitalized off that, where he, you know, he jumped on his Insta straight after the fight and he was just like, yeah, AJ, no, he shit himself. He didn't call me out. And then everyone in the comments is like, yeah, man, AJ didn't do it. He's scared. And now that kind of narrative is getting out there. So if the fight doesn't happen next year for whatever reason, a lot of people are going to be like, well, he didn't call him out, man. He might be scared.
No, but then again, when have you ever noticed AJ calling anyone out?
Oh, he did it in, didn't he do it after, you know, remember he copied Dillian when he was like, let's go, when he did all that?
Yeah, but it wasn't a direct call out. I think Anthony's one of those guys, man. He's not a natural trash talker. And I think he just decides that his energy is not best suited in that direction. He doesn't mean to say by any means, way or form that he's scared. Because if you remember, when he fought Dillian, it was Dillian doing a lot of that. He was the one that was initiating a lot of that beef. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he just kind of got swept along with it because of the way Dillian was coming at him so hard. And I remember in the lead up to that fight, a lot of people I spoke to were saying, oh, you know what? I wonder if Dillian's got in his head, man. Dillian beat him in the amateurs and the way he's talking reckless to AJ. If you look at AJ, he doesn't really seem to want it as much as Dillian does. Well, you saw what happened on Fight Night, man. You know what I mean? And AJ's got a real spiteful streak. Can you remember when he hurt Dillian a couple of times in that fight? He was actually talking to him, remember, and laughing and
sticking his tongue out, everything. Yeah.
The thing with Pulev, if you remember before the weigh-in, Pulev had a lot to say. He was trying to engage Anthony. In the end, he did. And during the fight, when Anthony started to punish him, you could see him just talking to him in there. You know what I mean? So I don't think anyone should take that as a sign of weakness. The fact that he hasn't responded to the trash talk and the call outs and stuff like that. I think come fight night, when that bell goes, man, he'll be fired up. He'll be ready to go. And I think he'll be looking to take Fury's head off. You know what I mean? A bit like he did when he sparred all them many years ago. So I think it's fair there.
Here's a comment for you. We've got a comment from DS, and he said, strongly agree with Laurie about it benefiting Usyk to weigh. So obviously he's referring back to your comment about Usyk weighing. But here's my, you know, if I just play devil's advocate a bit here. Now, obviously for Usyk, yeah, it benefits him to wait because you look at the fact that, you know, he'll be taking 2 paydays, step aside money, and then he'll also be taking a huge payday on the fight, and he's guaranteed the winner. So there are massive benefits to him for, you know, holding out. But then you kind of got to look at the drawbacks as well. Drawbacks are, in the interim, he might take a fight just to, you know, stay in shape, and he might lose it. There's that. He might, you know, for whatever reason, like he might need that fight to adjust the heavyweight a bit more, and like for some reason he could go into a lucky punch or something like that. So there is the risk of you know, either being inactive, which will make you rusty, or if you do take an interim fight, then you could lose it. So maybe Usyk will be like, no, I want that fight now. And then there's also the case, what someone highlighted to me on my live last weekend. They said to me that, let's say if Usyk was, you know, he really fancies his chances against AJ, but Fury wins. then he's got to fight Fury. Maybe like, I'm just being hypothetical here. He might not fancy his chances more against him than against like AJ. So does it really benefit Usyk to wait?
Yeah, you know what? I think you could see both sides of the coin, but I think it suits him to wait. And with regards to what you said about Fury, I seem to recall that he said he's confident he could beat Fury as well. So, if he's confident, he's confident. I mean, personally, I don't think he beats either of them. But then again, I'm not Usyk, and Usyk is a great fighter. He's accomplished a lot. And he will believe, like a lot of fighters always, he believes in himself. So, hey, why not? But all I'm saying is strategically, it would make sense if he got step-aside money. And that would give him more time to prepare for one of those two. He could take an interim fight. Presumably, the people around him are not going to put him in too deep with anyone, certainly not a big punch or anyone like that. He may go in with somebody that will just give him rounds so that he ticks over. So it would seem to make sense, although, listen, man, I'm not in the Usyk camp, so I don't know how he operates with these matters. Like I said before, he will feel very confident that he can beat either guy. So if he wants to press ahead with it, then fair enough. But I would have thought it wouldn't do him any harm to wait for that. It's not like he'll be waiting years, is it? It's just a few extra. So there you go.
Got another comment here from Ian Hamilton. Thank you for your comment. He said, AJ perhaps didn't do the call out because he doesn't want to get blamed if the fight doesn't happen. And yes, AJ is not a natural talker. No way is he afraid of Tyson. No way is he afraid of Tyson if that's what Fury wants to think, in my opinion. I agree. He's not afraid of Tyson Fury. I know that. I know you agree with that as well. He's not afraid. No, I don't think any of us think he is afraid of Fury. I just think, for me personally, I would just like to have seen him call him out. I don't mean he's afraid of him.
No. Listen, man, there's lots of fighters out there, great fighters as well. I really feel Manny Pacquiao. Yeah, I mean, I could go on and on. They're not natural trash talkers. They don't call people out. They appear to be quite humble, but at the same time, very confident people. And I think AJ kind of in that category, just because he's not cursing you out and calling you names and stuff like that. I mean, I think the confidence is there, man. And he knows that he's going to have to take these fights. So just because he didn't, take the mic and start calling out Fury and, using adjectives and expletives and all the rest of it, he was, again, I think he will be confident come fight night that he can beat Fury. More than confident. And why wouldn't he be?
Yeah, I agree. A big up Mohammed in the chat. He said, if AJ fights Usyk next, who do you see winning that? I know you've already given your opinion on that, but I have to say that I believe AJ wins that. I haven't seen enough from Usyk as a heavyweight for me to just say that he defeats AJ. I mean, we all know what sort of skills he's got, the talent and, the ability. But I think at heavyweight, he did beat Chisora. He did beat him pretty clearly on the cards, but it was very competitive throughout. And Chisora had his moments as well. I just think I need to see more of Usyk at heavyweight if I'm going to pick him to beat one of the giants like AJ or Fury. I just haven't seen enough yet for me to pick him. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I would just say this. We've seen Usyk fight two heavyweights, okay? The first guy, Chad Witherspoon, he got the win. It was a rudimentary fight and a rudimentary win. He didn't over-impress. He eventually got the guy out of there. I think the guy had a couple of weeks' notice for the fight. He wasn't in shape, as you could see on the night. Maybe Usyk wasn't fully motivated for that fight. He then goes on to fight Derek Chisora in a fight that he definitely would have been motivated for. Again, he won the fight. I have to say I wasn't wholly impressed. And so based on those two fights that I've seen of him so far and what I know of him as a fighter, I just can't see him over 12 rounds beating either Fury or AJ. I don't think he knocks either of those guys out. I don't think he punches hard enough to do that. And I just think that those guys, bigger, stronger, and still young enough, and got the wherewithal and the skills to walk him down and hurt him and maybe take him out late. Because the one thing I've noticed about Usyk watching him over the years, he is hittable. Yeah, he's not a runner. He's a very good boxer, but he can be caught, if that makes sense. He hasn't got the best defense. So yeah, I would say that I would make AJ and Fury clear favourites over Usyk should they fight. Now, listen, will the fight be competitive while it lasts? Absolutely, because of the skill sets that Usyk has. But over 12 rounds, over the long distance, with those two big giants bearing down on you round after round, hitting you, putting pressure on you, just the sheer physical and mental pressure that those guys will bring, I think it will take its toll on it. And I would imagine those two guys either by wide points decision. Certainly in AJ's case, I think he'll stop him. I really do.
Yeah. So, yeah. Usyk, for me, he's like a wild card in that division because we know how good he is, you know, of his accomplishments, what he's achieved. He has boxed a heavyweight before, albeit as an amateur. It's not quite the same, you know, in terms of the dimensions of the divisions, but Usyk's a fantastic fighter to watch on the eye. Pound for pound ability, one of the best fighters in the world. And it's just intriguing to see how he will get on against those sort of giants because you've got it in your head, like he's definitely got better stamina. You know, I can imagine him lasting better over the distance than AJ, for example. So would he be able to get into the later rounds and cause problems for him? Yeah, it'll be intriguing. But like you, I have to agree that I think that that AJ and Fury would be the favourites for me. Got another comment here from Sam UK. Thank you for leaving a comment. And he's put, yo, are you the guy from AFTV?
I am indeed. I am indeed.
And then he's also put, must be better watching boxing and football for you. So we ain't going to make this a football chat, but he's just saying, yeah, I have to agree with that as an Arsenal fan myself. It is definitely better watching the boxing right now.
No, but you know what? I just like watching sport, man. You know what I mean? You know, both football and boxing are both passions of mine. I've played and a lot of football over the years. I've also boxed. So yeah, I love both, man. Although probably my first love is probably boxing, to be honest, given how I came across boxing. So yeah, man, I like doing and I love participating in both.
Shout out to my guy EDB in the chat. He's put, yes, Dazzy, what's going on, bro? Thank you for joining. Don't forget to click the like, share, subscribe. You know, we're live. We're talking about, you know, all sorts of boxing right now. And while we're on the boxing subject, man, let's talk about the big fight happening this weekend. You know, we spoke about AJ, but let's preview Canelo and Callum-Smith. You know, fantastic fight. We've had a great winter schedule so far. And, you know, the fights keep coming. You know, we've got Ryan Garcia, Luke Campbell coming up early next year. We've got some Dylan White hopefully getting a big fight early next year. But this weekend, we're looking at Canelo and Callum-Smith. You've got the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. You've got the #1 ranked super middleweight in the world.
I didn't know Derek Crawford was fighting this week.
Well, the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, according to many. I won't say that as universal, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Got Canelo, you got Callum-Smith. There's a lot on the line. You've got the WBC super middleweight title on the line now. You've got Callum-Smith's, you know, belts on the line. So how do you see this fight? I know you saw the height difference when they went face-to-face this week. And I saw a lot of people going like, yo, Callum-Smith's a lot taller than him, man. Oh, I don't know anymore. But for me personally, I just think that Canelo knew what he was going up against. You know, they know, they would have obviously seen a lot of videos of Callum-Smith. But what's your thoughts on the whole fight in general? You know, like, you know, the magnitude and, you know, the danger, like how much of a danger is Canelo-Smith? Can he cause an upset?
You know what? It's an intriguing fight. And as you alluded to earlier, this time of the year, whenever you get round to like December and January and times like that, you always get some good fights come around. And this is one of them. I'm looking forward to this fight. It's an intriguing fight. Like you said, the size matchup, there's a big disparity between Callum-Smith and Canelo, but it's a disparity that he's overcome before. Rocky Fielding, similar dimensions in terms of height and reach. And let's face it, let's be honest, man, Canelo dispatched of Rocky Fielding fairly easily. Now, I don't think he's going to be able to do that to Callum-Smith because Callum-Smith is clearly a better fighter than Rocky Fielding. In fact, I think they fought and he got him out.
One round.
Yeah. So Callum-Smith is going to present problems. But I see a pretty difficult night ahead for him, to be honest, because, and the reason why I say that is because Callum-Smith, although he's very tall, he doesn't fight tall, if you know what I mean. So he's got good dimensions, as I said earlier. Long arms, good jab when he chooses to use it. But Callum-Smith fights best as a kind of aggressive, taller fighter. So he doesn't tend to keep his distance. He tends to want to close down the space and throw right hands and hooks to the body. Now, in a way, that's kind of playing into Canelo territory because he likes to get inside. Canelo, as we know, has got excellent head movement, and his favorite shots is the left hook to the body. You know what I mean? So he likes to keep it close in there. And Callum-Smith is interesting phenomena, really, because at times he's looked really good. Yeah, like when he blew out Rocky Fielding, when he beat George Groves. And there's been other times when he's looked less than good, shall we say, or less than stellar. You know, when he fought Eric Skoglund, when he fought John Ryder, it was his last fight. I mean, he struggled at times with Skoglund, and I personally thought he got outpointed by John Ryder. I didn't even think it was that close. I thought he clearly lost that fight. And so if you look at those fights and you look at the attributes that Canelo will bring to this fight, I can't really see, unless he can land a Hail Mary and knock Canelo out, which again, can't really see because up till this point in time, you have to say that Canelo must have one of the best chins in boxing.
Agree.
You know, in 24 rounds with Triple G, and Triple G was a hellacious puncher. Didn't land he didn't put a dent in Canelo, not even one. In fact, in the first fight, he spent a lot of the time on the back foot. In the second fight, he actually took it to Canelo. So that tells me, man, that he believes in his chin. He's got an excellent chin. And if Canelo can put a dent in him, then it's difficult to see Callum-Smith doing so. Maybe they might target the body, I don't know. But you have to, you have to say that Canelo's got a great chin. I'm sure Callum-Smith has a good chin. I haven't seen him particularly hurt or staggered or so. But then you just look at the fight and you think to yourself, well, they're fighting in San Antonio, Texas, which is right on the American-Mexican border. So it's going to be heavily in favor of Canelo. And the way things are always set up with Canelo fights, he does seem to accrue all the advantages. And I just can't see Callum-Smith getting a points decision over Canelo, especially in that part of the world. So I would say he's starting, metaphorically, at least 4 or 5 rounds down. And I'm being serious, you know what I mean? Canelo, he's had some close fights in the past. Erislandy Lara, Austin Trout, and he came away with those decisions. They were debatable, but he came away, even in the fight where he got schooled with Mayweather, Canelo. One of the judges had it a draw, unbelievably. So I don't hold up much hope for Callum getting a points thing, which means he's going to have to be aggressive and try and knock Canelo out. And unfortunately for Callum, I think that plays into Canelo's hands. So I expect him to be competitive, but I can't see him winning. But I hope he does, to be honest. I'd love to see him pull off the upset.
I'd love to see him do it, man.
100. If I'm keeping it 100, I can't see it, man. I really can't. But
let's go to some of these comments, man. I'll go back to Sam. He put Canelo is a beast. Don't know how good Callum really is. Well, Callum's really good, man. I mean, he's he's a World Boxing Super Series. He won that. He's a unified title holder at super middleweight. He's got the Ring Magazine belt. So, Callum-Smith, he's undefeated as well. So he does go in there with a lot in his favor. But here's Ian Hamilton's comment as well. He's put, when it comes to Canelo, size doesn't matter. Callum needs to dig deep for this one and try to outthink Canelo. But can he do it? It's hard to bet against Canelo because he's that good. So even with the size difference, it doesn't really matter. Like Canelo's fought taller guys before. He's chopped down the tree. He's Rocky Fielding is not on the same level, however, as Callum-Smith. Like Kovalev, he's a taller fighter, longer fighter. But with Callum-Smith, you get the sense that he is a natural super middleweight. He's in his prime. He's undefeated. He can punch. He's going to punch with a lot more authority than Kovalev did in their fight. Because Kovalev, for me, wasn't really stepping in behind his punches for me. I think Callum-Smith will. Callum-Smith, on the other hand, is going to have first-hand experience of what it's like fighting Canelo because his brother fought him, Liam Smith. So, there are things in his favor as well. But I just think that, like you said, how do you beat Canelo, man? Like, if you can't knock him out, you've got to beat him on points. And he's got the judges in his pocket. Let's be honest, man. He is.
In my opinion, it's going to take a well-rounded fighter to beat Canelo. You might even have to mix up your tactics a bit because you probably don't want to be on the back foot all night. So you're going to have to engage him at some point. But to me, in order to beat Canelo, you've got to have a very good jab and you've got to have great footwork. And And today, I don't think Callum's sort of exhibited that yet in his game. Like I said, he's a tall fighter that likes to fight up close, which is a bit of a conundrum, really, which is, you know what I mean? You would have expected a taller guy to want to use his jab, a bit like what Lyndon Arthur did with Anthony Yard, and give the fighter angles and stuff. Callum tends to come straight at opponents, and he's looking to push them back. So he's more aggressive. And I just think that type of thing will play into Canelo's attributes a little bit, and it will nullify Callum's advantages. And I don't think Canelo-Smith's got great footwork. Well, listen, if he has, I haven't seen it to date. And listen, I've been watching Canelo-Smith a long time now. I remember watching him at the York Hall as an amateur, you know what I mean? So I've been watching him a long time. And and he's never been what I would class as a great mover, unless he's going to bring it out for this particular fight. So I think that Canelo's team would have studied him long and hard. And I think that they selected him for this fight, as opposed to going after somebody like Caleb Plant, who is a much superior boxer and mover, or a Benavidez, who's got a high work rate, massive for the weight, but can punch as well. So we'll see, man. Listen, man, if he does win, there would have been bigger upsets than that. But
sure,
I have to say, I can't see it, but I hope he can pull it off.
Looking at the comments here, we've got another comment from DS. Big up, thank you for the comment. He's put, Canelo's my pound for pound number one and one of my favorite active fighters, but I've got a feeling for the upset. So yeah, not everybody is going for Canelo, man. Some people think an upset could happen.
No, that's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sam UK, thank you for the comment again. He's put, I agree, for Callum to win the decision, he'll have to win every round. Probably have to drop him a couple of times for it to be a draw.
Every round, he'll have to have at least 2 or 3 knockdowns.
Get a split decision.
And then he might get a draw. He might get a draw. But I'm telling you.
In Texas as well, man.
Sorry?
In Texas.
Yeah. You might as well say it's Mexico. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just my skepticism of boxing authorities just tells me that, you know what I mean, Canelo, if it's anywhere near close, he's going to get the decision. That's the way boxing works. And indeed, let's be honest, man, Callum himself was the recipient of a very dodgy decision against John Ryder.
Agree.
He clearly lost that fight.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was that close, to be honest. When I say, listen, it was one of those fights, it was competitive, but it wasn't close. I had John.
He'll be more up for Canelo.
At least 3 rounds.
Yeah, but he'll be more up for he'll be more up for this one.
He'll be more up for it, but the skill set is, this kind of scenarios are similar. John Ryder, pretty short for the weight. He relied on getting inside, hustle and bustle, and he outworked and landed the cleaner shots. Now, no disrespect to John Ryder, but that's John Ryder. When you're talking Canelo, you're upping the levels quite.
Yeah, but you could look at it like a Billy Joe Saunders situation. It could be like, you know, at that point he wasn't motivated. You know, he went in there like believing that he was going to take him out. Against Canelo, he's going to be alert, switched on. He has to be. He's going to be intact.
That's true as well. It could have been that he was either undermotivated or he underestimated Ryder. Maybe it was a combination of both. But what I'm saying is, and I'm taking this into consideration about what you just said about Ryder, but I'm saying that John Ryder, and no disrespect to him because he's a very good fighter, but Canelo is significantly levels above John Ryder. So if you couldn't beat John Ryder convincingly, or you couldn't get him out of there or knock him down, it's a bit of a stretch for me to think that you're going to do that to Canelo in, let's face it, what's virtually a hometown fight in front of his own people, the promotion and everything else. I just can't see it. He's going to have to knock Canelo out. And as I said, Canelo has one of the best chins in boxing. So you have to speculate that he's going to be able to take it, the punishment, you know what I mean? If he gets punished, that is.
Big up Darren Hall. Thank you for the comment. He's put Canelo's already paid for the win. We've got OG Toenail. Thank you for your comment. He's put, yo, what's good? Nothing, man. We're just chopping it up, talking boxing, bro. Sam UK, he's put, Smith don't need to win. A close decision fight will take his stock up regardless of the outcome. No one's beating Canelo. Then we've got OG.
Canelo's already been beaten. So, you know.
Yeah, true. got OG Toenail as well. He's put definitely seeing Canelo dig some nasty hooks to the body and start to headhunt in the later rounds. Well, yeah, he's going to chop that tree down.
Yeah, well, that's been his tactics when he's fighting taller fighters, and it's the right tactic. And what you also got to remember as well, and this is one of the reasons why I love watching Canelo, is that he's got excellent defense and head movement. If you watch that guy, man, it's almost poetry in motion. When he gets going, the way he can duck under the shots and roll, and he can fight off the back foot as well as he can going forward. So in terms of his aesthetics, he's brilliant to watch. And he carries power. Now, the weaknesses that Canelo has, he's got a bit of a suspect stamina tank, hasn't he? He tends to be quite one-paced. He's definitely not a volume puncher. And he can switch off from time to time in fights as well. Maybe it's just to try and pace himself, but sometimes it appears he switches off a little bit. So maybe Callum can exploit those issues, you know, and make it a really competitive fight. But unless he's really going to drop Canelo and stop him, I don't see how he wins, because I'm not trying not to overplay it, but seriously, trying to get a decision against Canelo is, well, almost unheard of apart from Mayweather.
In Texas as well, man. I just can't get it out of my head. The fact that, but listen, man,
when Canelo fights, he's definitely what they call the A side. Even down to the way he, some of the opponents are asked to, you know, rehydrate or lack of rehydration clauses and stuff like that. Everything in the T and C's for the fight tend to lean towards him. So it's a big ask, man. Tough ask for Callum. Fair play for taking it. Yes, he's going to get rewarded well financially, but even so, he didn't have to take the fight. He could have pursued one of the other champions. So enough respect to him for that. But it's a massive ask.
For sure. And just before we move on, just put here, Sam UK's put Callum needs Klopp. Yeah, you're going to need all of Liverpool behind him in that fight, man. Would have been great to get Canelo over here in the UK, for sure. I mean, he's got a good record against UK fighters, 5-5 at the moment, 4 KOs. Obviously, got the likes of Liam Smith, his brother, Amir Khan, Ryan Rhodes, Matthew Hatton, and Rocky Fielding. So will Callum Smith be the next name? Last comment here before I move on. Ian Hammond's just put, one of the big problems of fighting Canelo is that he has an iron chin. Triple G hit him with everything he didn't wobble him. Can Callum do that, I wonder? Yeah, that's what you alluded to earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's only since I've been watching Canelo, which is going back years now to when he first fought guys like Matthew Hatton and Ryan Rhodes and people like that. I've never seen him hurt. Apparently, he was hurt in a fight against Miguel Cotto's brother. It was many, many years ago. I think you got to remember as well that Canelo, even though he's in his 30s now, is he even that much?
Right. Yeah, he is. He's about 30.
Since he was 15 years old. You know what I mean? So his whole life has been boxing. So he's a veteran, really. You know what I mean? So he's pretty much seen and done it all and been in all sorts of different opponents. So he's not going to be fazed by Callum's size, because he's fought guys of that size before and he's overcome them. Good fighters as well. So, you know, and he's gone up by heavyweight and he washed Kovalev, although it was a strange looking Kovalev on the night, but we won't go into that. Listen, you know what I mean? The pedigree is there for sure. Callum is going to be the one facing those issues. He's going to be the one going in under the lights in an unusual atmosphere. Let's see how he copes with it.
Yeah. Did you catch the boxing last weekend? The Ashley Theophane and Sam Eggington on Channel 5. It just went how we thought it was going to go, didn't it? There's some good boxing on Channel 5 this weekend as well, actually.
Yeah.
It
was great to see boxing on terrestrial TV.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I have to keep it 100 and be honest and say, it was quite sad for me, given that I know Ashley Theophane and he used to box for my old boxing club, All Stars. Shout out to all people in All Stars world. It's quite sad for me to see that, man, because he should not have been in the ring with that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Ashley Theophane is a career light welterweight, and he's not even a big light welter. He's 5'8". He's got decent proportions for a light welter, but he's not a big light welterweight. And you're stepping up in weight, almost 2 weight divisions, to fight Sam Eggington, who's a welter light middle and a big big welter as well. Ashley was giving away about 13 years, and it showed. All those things showed on the night. He got battered, and I was saying to you on last week's show that I was worried that this was going to happen. by all accounts, the money that he got wasn't that great, because if it was, Ashley wouldn't have been complaining on Twitter that he was being asked to pay his own travel to get up to Birmingham, wherever it was they were fighting. So, yeah, man, it was quite discomforting for me to watch that, man. In fact, in the end, I was glad when he was put out of his misery by that body shot, because he didn't win he didn't even come close to winning a
round, man. Just like, we knew that, though.
Tried to deploy a bit of movement. That lasted for about a minute and a half. And from there on in, he was just a sitting duck. You know what I mean?
Big up Sam UK here. He said he's heading out. I'm out. We'll catch you guys next time. Great show. I'll end by saying Wilder fans make Arsenal fans look normal. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and tune in. We'll be doing this podcast every week for any new people in the chat. Sam, thank you for dropping your comments, and we'll hope to catch you again soon. But yeah, just elaborating on your comments there, Dad, with regards to the Thea Fane-Eggington fight. We knew that was coming, though. We said that last week. We just said, look, why is it? Well, I said, why is it happening? And Shane said it was probably for the money. But even you've just said there, didn't get paid very well. It was literally a beatdown from round 1 to round whatever it was, 6. And I felt sorry for him, because I just thought, this is just a sad way to go out, man.
Yeah, sad way to go out. Because like I said, Ashley Theophane, man, he's a cool guy, number one. Number two, he deserves credit, because here is a guy that found himself on the wrong side of the tracks in London. I think he's from Kilburn way around them sides. And, you know what I mean? He took himself off to America at a young age, became a bit of a gym rat around the Mayweather gym, notorious for its hard sparring and stuff like that. And in the end, he ended up getting signed by Mayweather, and he had some good fights out of that. I mean, he fought Danny Garcia to a split decision. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah. Danny Garcia, that's two-time world champion, fought Errol Spence a couple of weeks back. So, yeah, I mean, he's boxed some good guys, and he's had some good moments. He was British champion for a while. And to see him get abused like that the other day, man, was, nah, man, I didn't like to see it. But it was Ashley that chose to take the fight. I mean, if he wanted to have that one last fight or whatever, or have his swan song, he could have chosen the route he was going down before this fight, where he was fighting abroad on some obscure cards against, let's face it, some not very good opponents. He should have kept it like that. But maybe the wins that he had in these foreign countries were gassing him up to the point where he's thinking he's better than he was. Because, you know what I mean? I don't want to dump on Ashley. Like I said, that's my guy, man. But to me, that was horrific choice of opponent. That opponent was all wrong for him, man. Too big, too long, too strong, too young, hit too hard. It was just an impossible task. So, but listen, man, I'm almost, and I shouldn't say this, but I'm almost hoping that he has another swan song fight that he can go out.
You want him to fight again?
Not against an opponent like this. I'm talking about, if you want to carry on boxing and you're 40 years old,
man,
you've got to choose your opponents very, very carefully. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, listen, we've got about 10 minutes left, and I do need to get in. We need to squeeze this in. We need to talk about Triple G, who's fighting tomorrow. And we also want to talk about quickly Dillian Whyte and what you'd like to see next from now that the Povetkin fight's not happening. So Triple G is obviously making a mandatory defense of his IBF middleweight title. And I'm not going to butcher the guy's name, man. He's a Polish fighter. He's undefeated himself. It says I can't pronounce it, man. I'm not going to do it. But
a journey.
Yeah, I don't know much about him. I don't want to disrespect him.
It's called A.N. Other.
Yeah, well, I don't want to disrespect this guy because he's undefeated himself. I had a look at his record. You know, he hasn't really fought anyone of note for me. But he's going to go in there and, you know, maybe he could believe that he can cause an upset. But by the looks of it, he doesn't punch hard. Don't see him troubling Triple G. So really, this is just like a walk in the park from what I know. Do you know anything about this guy?
No, I don't. No disrespect. Maybe I shouldn't couch it in these terms, but we saw another Polish undefeated fighter take on Lawrence Okoli last week, and we saw how that ended up. And I would.
He looked wicked, by the way.
Yeah, he did. But I would venture to suggest that this could be a very similar type of exercise. I'm fully expecting. I don't know anything about this guy, but I'm fully expecting that the mere fact that he was chosen for the comeback fight means that they're pretty comfortable in choosing him, and that it's going to be a routine win for Triple G. And Triple G's been talking a lot of shit, I see. So he's in the mood for a knockout, and I'm expecting him to deliver one this weekend.
He's talking a lot of shit because Oscar's been trying to fish, trying to get his back up, man. And Oscar, I'm going to be honest, mate, he was chatting shit what he was saying about how he thinks he'd come back.
Maybe that's an indication of some of the...
He ain't the one.
Listen,
he ain't the one, man. Don't mess around with him.
Maybe what Oscar's coming out with is an indication of some of the activities that he's going on outside of boxing. And I'm just going to leave it like that, because he should keep Triple G's name out of his mouth. I mean, and I think Triple G, to be fair to him, he's offended that Oscar's even mentioning his name, to the point where you're getting Triple G, who is a man that, a bit like AG, doesn't normally trash talk, putting down some pretty serious trash talk, man, saying he wants to catch a body and all that.
Yeah.
Man's talking reckless. I was like, rah. I think that's how offended he is that Oscar's even mentioning his name. And listen, no one wants to see that, man. Oscar, please, just concentrate on what you should be concentrating on, which is promoting your fighters. And by all accounts, if what Canelo's been saying recently and Ryan Garcia and people like that, then you're not doing a fantastic job there. Maybe you just need to focus on promoting and just leave fight into the fighters. You know what I mean?
It's a bit of a cheeky question, this, but it wouldn't really, we couldn't really match them up. But prime for prime, I mean, Oscar De La Hoya, he wasn't a natural middleweight at all, was he? So I guess we can't really say how he'd do against Triple G in his prime, because Triple G's a natural middleweight, borderline super middleweight now. And like Oscar De La Hoya was naturally like, well, you know what? Forget that question. I'm not even going to think about it.
Let's not even go there, man.
Yeah. But I'm just thinking, could Oscar in his prime, in his prime, could he have caused any problem? That's what I want to.
I use the word was because that's exactly what it is. He was a great fighter. But for him to even begin to think that he could come back now, even given the fact that Triple G is late on in his career as well, to him to be even thinking like that kind of tells me, man, that there must be stuff going on outside the ring that's not great, put it like that. So my message to Oscar is concentrate on what you should be concentrating on, which is promoting your fighters and trying to make the big fights happen, and let Triple G just finish out his career.
Well, lastly, man, I wanted to speak about the Dillian Whyte situation. That was big news. The fact that Alexander Povetkin, was struck down with COVID-19. Apparently, he was in hospital. He was hospitalized as well. He recovered from that since, but he's obviously not ready to fight in January, as the fight has already been delayed a month. So it's looking like that Dillian Whyte will want to continue with his career. However, we've seen some names that were thrown out. I saw Deontay Wilder's name. I saw Andy Ruiz's name. I saw Luis Ortiz's name. And I'm just like, whoa, like you want to go in there with those guys, like after a devastating knockout loss like that. If I was his manager, I would say, maybe you don't need this tougher fight in the interim. But Dillian Whyte has come out and he said, look, I want it. I want all the smoke, man. He said it. So you got to give him credit for that.
That's why a lot of people love him.
You got to give him credit for that. But is it wise to think that? What do you think? He's moving on with his career.
No, I don't think it is wise, especially against noted punchers like Wilder. I think any of those three, man, present real threats for Dillian. Because Andy Ruiz, he's another one. He's got a big dig on him. And Andy can take a punch as well. You know what I mean? Luis Ortiz, man, he's a very good fighter. I mean, okay, he's getting on years. People claim to not know exactly how old he is, but, every time I see him fight, man, he looks pretty impressive. I mean, okay, he had those 2 fights with Wilder. And let's be honest, man, especially in the second fight, he was winning those fights until he got clipped. So I don't know. But then Dillian's in a strange position because he's actually quite advanced in his career now, even though, he's kind of come up the hard way and so forth. But he's at that delicate stage in his career now where he's kind of on the verge of a world title shot. So do you really want to risk it by going in? I mean, that was the whole problem with choosing Povetkin in the first place. I was worried when that fight was announced because I know how good Povetkin can be. And I know that he still had some juice left. And the fight with Wilder, that is a very dangerous fight for him, man. I mean,
I don't think that's a good stylistic matchup for White.
Him and Wilder have got some long ongoing feud, so that makes it very personal. You'll be going in there against a guy that's what, 6'6", 6'7", big puncher, lost his last fight, looking to get back with a big win. He'd be looking at Dillian as, you know, as a way to doing that. Same like his last fight. Sorry?
Both of them be coming off losses then.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Luis Ortiz has won a fight, but it wasn't much of a fight. But all of those three are present very clear and present dangers for Dillian Whyte. And if I was him, I would maybe look to somebody else a little less threatening, but still has a bit of a name. Maybe a Brian Jennings or something. I don't know, man. You know what I mean? But I think he needs to avoid the punches until you can secure a possible title shot.
Got a comment here from Ian Hamilton. He's put, Whyte versus Ortiz would be perfect as it would provide Dillian with another challenge, but will Al Heyman let it happen? Dillian maybe needs to leave the Wilder thing as he's not a champion anymore. They've got some personal thing going on, them two.
Yeah,
but Al Heyman, he'd let that happen, don't you think? Dillian Whyte and Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz is not his pride and joy. He's not his main heavyweight, I suppose. Would he let Ortiz?
I've heard Luis Ortiz be quite vocal about how much he would welcome a Dillian fight. In fact, he's accused Dillian on more than one occasion of ducking him. You know what I mean? So I'm sure he'd take that fight. I'm absolutely sure. But would it be in Dillian's best interest to take that fight? Because if he beats Luis Ortiz, then everyone's going to say, oh, he was an old man anyway. You know what I mean? So
what about this fight here?
The risk versus a reward.
What about this fight here? We've got a comment from OG Toenail. Thanks for staying in the chat. He's put Usyk versus Whyte.
That's a winnable fight for Dillian, but again, it's a dangerous fight because you could also see Usyk outboxing him over 12. Who'd you pick? I think that's a great fight, to be honest. I think that's a good look.
Are you on the fence on that one, eh?
A little bit, yeah, because I could see Dillian winning because Dillian is a little younger and a little less shot-worn than Derek. And he's a bigger puncher than Derek. And he's a naturally aggressive man. You know what I mean? So I could see him engaging Usyk and really making it a dogfight. But then I could also see Usyk outscoring him over 12, especially in southpaw style. So that's a great fight, man. But again, not sure if Dillian would want that if it wasn't a title fight, if you see what I mean.
Well, it seems to be. He seems like he just wants to smoke, man. I mean, I was surprised when I saw Eddie Hearn's comments, but I didn't see Whyte's interview. And then I saw Whyte's interview, and he seems to want it. So if I was to listen, as a fan, as a boxing fan, I'd love to see. I want to see him against Wilder, Ortiz, Ruiz. Yeah, give me that all day. Him and Usyk, I'd love it. As his manager, I'd be like, whoa, hold on a minute. We're on the verge of, possibly getting back into the position for something that we've fought so hard to get. Is this wise? But listen, I'm not his manager, so I'm a fan.
Yeah, I would say is, I'm not throwing any shade on Alexander Povetkin at all. I just want to make that clear. That's my preface for what I'm going to say next is, if you're Povetkin really and truly, why would you want to rematch Dillian unless they're paying you a shitload of money? Why would you want it? You've beaten a guy conclusively. If I was Povetkin, I'd be trying to engineer my own title shot. I mean, up until the knockout, he was losing. So it's conceivable that he could fight Dillian again and lose. Maybe even get knocked out, yeah? So if you're Povetkin, especially if you're just coming off COVID, which can be a very debilitating illness, and I know that for a fact because one of my brothers had it, why would you want to get straight in there with Dillian? You know what I mean? I'll be looking at it, well, we've beaten Dillian, man. Let me see if I can get a fight with Usyk. Another Ukraine versus, in that part of the world, that would be a massive fight in the same way that Klitschko versus Povetkin was a massive fight back in Russia some years back. Or he might want to go down the Deontay Wilder route. They were supposed to fight before. And the fight got called off due to issues around, a proposed or alleged PEDS issue with Povetkin. He might want that fight. Or he might want to go after Fury. He's fought AJ already. I ain't imagine he's going to want to rush back in there with AJ. But he might be looking at Fury and thinking, well, it's a different type of style. Fury doesn't punch out hard. Fury can be decked because we've seen him get decked before on a few occasions now. So he hasn't got the best chin either. If you're Povetkin, you're thinking one last throw at a title. Why would you want to go back and fight Dillian unless, like I said, they're offering you a truckload of money?
Well, he's just got no choice, has he? Because it was inside.
No, he has got choices. You know what I mean? He doesn't have.
It was in the contract. It was in the contract, though.
Yeah, but we all know that these contracts get drawn up, but he can engineer a way out of that if he wants to. There's
rumours that Povetkin he's not really fussed about the rematch because Dylan seems to think there's a bit of foul play involved and that you don't really want to fight him again and he's fit enough to fight. But then there's also rumours that Povetkin's team wanted Povetkin to, think about retiring. Maybe 1 or 2 fights left and then retire.
Yeah. If I was, listen, hypothetically speaking, right, and I'm obviously, if I was Povetkin's manager, I would not want that fight with Dillian. Again, the way I'll be looking at it is we've beaten you conclusively. We knocked you out cold. Why are we going back? You want me to come all the way from Russia over to England again? This time we don't know what we're going to be coming up against. I'm saying you're Povetkin, you're 41, 42 years old. You've had a long, hard career. You've been world champion. You want one last throw of the dice. That's how I'll be thinking. We fought ourselves into top contender place by beating, the guy that you was up against. Now you've got one big night left in you, man. Why are you going to fight Dillian again and put more miles on the clock, even if you do win? Just makes sense to go after Fury, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
One of those guys. And on that note, you never know. He might land a Hail Mary on Fury and knock him out. You don't know, man. It's boxing. Heavyweight boxing is a different animal.
That's it, man. On that note, we're going to end it there for the stream. We've gone past the hour mark now. But listen, I just want to say thank you, first of all, for joining, as you do every week. Thank you to the people that were in the chat, man. We had some great comments, great interaction. And I think going forward, we need to do this live more, man. Just get people involved and get people talking, reply to comments. And I'm up for that. So listen, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you haven't clicked the like button, go and click that, go and share. Let's try and get this video out to as many people as we can. And thank you all again for the interaction. We'll be back next week. But have you got anything you want to say before we close out?
No, man, it's great, man. Listen, I've had a great time. I hope all those people who joined this live stream, I hope they've enjoyed watching as much as I've enjoyed participating. So yeah, man, like, share and subscribe to the Boxing Lowdown channel, man. And to yourself, keep up the good work, man. See you next week, hopefully.
That's it, guys. See you next week. Have a good evening, guys.